November 24th, 1998.
She was a beautiful bride, but joyous for more than the usual reasons.
I felt like I had passed through the worst of it, and in a way, I had won. And that's how I felt. I've won. The rapist lost, I won.
Nancy Rain's ordeal did not end when the rapist fled. Trauma keeps a treacherous timetable.
And I really felt that she was going to take her life.
The wounds of rape are really to the spirit, to the heart, and the soul, and the mind. The writing of the book for me was my way of bringing myself into a wholeness again.
Tonight, a journey back from rape to healing, and yes, even joy.
From ABC News, this is Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Imagine for a moment something that you truly enjoy. A piece of music, a particular meal, a hobby, a book, anything. Now associate that with an act of violence. Imagine yourself being forced to do that which you have always loved at the point of a knife. At the very least, you can see how it would diminish the pleasure. At worst, it might create an association in your mind that could, for years, make what was once pleasurable hateful. That is what rape does. Whatever its physical similarity may be to the act of love, rape is an act of violence. It takes what was once pleasurable and turns it into something hateful. It happens in this country a lot. About 100,000 cases are reported to the police every year. Several 100,000 other cases are not. It is, for obvious reasons, a difficult area in which to find consistent and accurate data. But for every case that is reported, it's estimated that 8 others are not. Usually, after all, only 2 people know what happened. The man is unlikely to admit it. The woman is often too ashamed and frightened. The point is that all too many rape victims are left to deal with their trauma by themselves. And the after effect of rape is a lingering and corrosive malignancy that can take a very, very long time to heal. Nancy Venable Rain was born on July 26, 1946. Hers was a carefree childhood. A gentle heart, a sense of adventure, and a terrific joie de vivre were ballast for a woman who became a writer, poet, and documentary film producer with various jobs in government and the arts. In Boston, on October 11, 1985, Nancy Rain was 39 years old and unpacking in a new apartment. She just returned from taking out the trash.
I love it when I get in a place and I can finally cook a meal. That's when you know you've moved in. And you have your knives and you have your various implements and you can really cook them. So I had been sharpening my knives and oiling them, and I had them laid out on the counter, and I had my back to the door and was washing a pan in the sink when there was just this impact from behind. And fingers in my eyes, like this, or like this, and a hand around my throat. And just this furious, raging force. That's how it felt. Just total furious force. And I was pulled backward, and I must have been screaming, although I don't remember screaming. I must have screamed. Because eventually, I just heard, I realized it was a person. And I just heard, shut up, shut up, shut up, and a string of 4-letter words. And I realized there was a person that had somehow gotten in the house. There was somebody in that house. And there was no escape. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you over and over again. I'm going to kill you, you bitch, you bitch. I'm going to kill you. And he dragged me into the bedroom, and he threw me down on the bed face down and had tape and taped up around my head and around my hair, my eyes, and taped my hands behind me. Over the next 3 hours, he raped me and tormented me with descriptions of how he would kill me with a knife, telling me exactly where he would cut me. Or maybe he said he would smother me with my pillow. Or maybe he said he would smother me. That's funny, I can't even say it. Smother me with my pillow. He seemed undecided about the method. Many times he did cover my face with the pillow and press it down so that I could not draw a breath. Each time I expected to die, but he always relented just before I lost consciousness. He slapped my head with open palms after these episodes, the way you swat a fly. At that point, you're totally helpless. You're totally helpless. And I think it was at that point where, because your initial reaction is just this complete shock and terror. And as the shock goes on, as I described it in the book, there's this calmness that comes over you, a calmness, which is very merciful, and it's very numbing physically. I mean, I didn't feel a lot of pain.
When the rapist finally left, her calm collapsed.
I could not stand up. I could not walk. It wasn't from injuries, although I had some injuries. It was just sheer total terror.
Nancy Rain managed to call police and was taken to the emergency room.
I was thirsty. They said, you know, no water because you'll wash away evidence. There was oral contact, forced oral contact. You'll wash away evidence. You can't drink anything. Then you go through the whole routine when the doctor finally comes in, where you realize that you are a living piece of evidence. The evidence is in you, it's on you. And there was a point where the doctor, who was a woman doctor, said something I think very important to me. You're not a victim, you're a survivor. Or you'd be in the morgue.
After leaving the hospital, one of the first calls she made was to her mother.
I called her the next morning and said, somebody broke in while I was there and they robbed me. And she said, were you raped? See, I had her do the job for me. I had her say it.
A few days later, Nancy Rain returned home to Virginia and stayed for 6 weeks.
I didn't really want to be alone at all. And I wanted to be physically in the presence of my parents all the time. And so I did. I was. I slept with my mother. I was always with her in the kitchen. If she was working in the yard, I went out in the yard to work. Went with her to the mailbox. Just the way a toddler would do. What my mother gave me in that time that was really the beginning of my healing, made my rest of my healing possible, was acceptance and love. She accepted me as I was, as vulnerable, scared, anxious, sleepless, tearful, self-blaming as I was. She accepted me and loved me.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by AT&T.
AT&T 00 Info, how can I help you?
I need the phone number of Petey's Dog Grooming. Or is it Punky's? I'm not exactly sure of the name.
Now you can get information even if you don't have all the information. AT&T customers, dial 00. You don't need the exact name.
Found it. Pinky's Dog Grooming.
Dial 00 for any number, anywhere. We'll even connect you to your number for free.
Oh, oh, it's magic. You know.
License Peter Lynch, the fidelity guy. I could overlook some very tedious paperwork for a hot stock tip.
Buying what's hot without doing the research is not investing. It's gambling.
Oh, really?
Here's a tip. Call Fidelity. They'll help you figure out what's right for you.
For your free investing guide, call 1-800-FIDELITY or visit fidelity.com.
Thanks, Hotshot. Watch your fingers.
Wednesday, a Diane Sawyer exclusive. Ken Starr. He answers the questions Congress didn't ask.
Do I have a right to ask you about your sex life?
On 2020 Wednesday.
Start your holiday season on the Peoria Riverfront at Illinois Antique Center's Holiday Open House. Shop hundreds of dealers for great gift ideas. Illinois Antique Center.
At 9, right after Good Morning America. Here on HOI. We're out of here.
Regis and Kathy Lee are going Hollywood.
I'm ready for my first.
Hang out with the hottest stars like super vixen Heather Locklear.
It's so much fun. Yeah.
And a true L.A. swinger. Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. And later this week, Michael Crawford.
Unbelievable.
Is Tinseltown ready for Regis and Kathy Lee?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Get it live from L.A.
At 9, right after Good Morning America. Here on HOI.
Struggled to regain control of her life, but then the unexpected happened. Days before the first anniversary of the rape, she met Steve Stevick at a friend's wedding and fell in love.
When Nancy told me about the rape, which was the morning after we met, I was shocked. I could see that it had been a horrendous experience for her. Something that she was still struggling with.
8 months later, they were married.
I felt very alive. I felt like I had passed through the worst of it, and in a way, I had won. The rapist lost, I won.
Nancy Rain moved to San Francisco and happily became a stepmother to Steve's 2 children. For several years, everything seemed fine until her trauma began to reemerge.
All the feelings of helplessness, rage, being isolated, being so terribly alone, all of it came back. But I did not know what the source of it was.
She toppled into a severe depression.
My heart was breaking. That's the way I felt. My heart was breaking. And this new life I had in this beautiful place, a wonderful husband and wonderful children, just all of it just was meaningless.
Their marriage became tense and volatile.
What seemed to come up a lot was a reference to trust, not trusting, or being attacked. She had a feeling that she was being attacked. And from my point of view, I felt as if as if the rapist was still there among us. With the echo, more and more it seemed as if the echo of the rape became louder and louder. And that's why at some point during one of our heated discussions, I said, I am not your rapist.
Well, you're acting like my rapist, I screamed back, stunned that he was using the rape, the worst thing that had ever happened to me, against me. Now he really was a monster. But in the shocked silence that followed this exchange, we both caught a glimpse of the beast who was haunting our home.
They began couples counseling, but 10 weeks later, she was on the verge of suicide.
I had locked myself in the bathroom with a straight edge razor blade, and I was crying hysterically, with no attempt to muffle it. And I was saying to Steve, he was saying, come out, and I said, I can't come out, I'm gonna kill myself, I can't take it anymore.
And I really felt that she was going to take her life. And here she was locked in the bathroom. I didn't know what to do. And that's when I called the counselor that we'd been seeing. I told him I was afraid for her life. I'm afraid that she was going to commit suicide. His response was to ask me whether or not I wanted to come in and talk with him about it. So the more I thought about that, the funnier it seemed. And so I knocked on the door. Nance was in the tub. And I told her about it. And she stopped for a moment, and then we both started laughing. And that seemed to have really been a breakthrough.
For the next 2.5 years, Nancy Raines saw a psychiatrist who specialized in rape trauma.
I was surprised at how deep it had gone, how deep the rape and the traumatic injury had gone, and how it had changed my way of seeing myself in the world. What I left with was a person who had really worked through the rage, that deep rage that I had never really been able to explore. I had a sense of being a whole person again.
The years in therapy also changed her feelings about the man who raped her.
For a very long time, I thought of this person, this man who stole so much from me, really as a monster. And I hated him as a monster. But it was interesting as I went through the course of my own healing through therapy that I began to see, to understand how the feelings that I had had of helplessness and rage and shame and all of that had played themselves out in my life in terms of projecting them out onto others. And I began to think then that perhaps that's what had happened to this man, that he was telling me his story in a way. There was a great sense of liberation in not hating him, because hatred keeps you from a vital connection to life. And I had never understood the power that hatred had, because it obliterates other feelings. It just takes over this enormous amount of space inside the self. So not hating him was a return for me back into life.
Officer, I want to report a missing person.
Description?
About 6 feet.
Clothing?
Different suit every night.
Personality?
Hilarious. Smart. and he always had the best guests in the business.
When was the last time you saw him?
May 21st, 1992.
And what was he doing?
Talking to Bette Midler.
I think we found him.
Johnny's back. Relive television's greatest moment on pay-per-view. It's only on DirecTV. So, what are you looking at?
Discover the fiber therapy that tastes so good, people prefer it over Metamucil, 2-to-1. Discover Citracel, the only fiber powder that won't produce excess gas. Citracel, no excess gas and better taste, too.
Size 4 dress, $45. Autofocus camera, $260. 5 generations in one photograph, priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard.
This is a world only a few know well. A world of risk and uncertainty, where the roads can take you to success or prosperity, or sometimes to no place at all. This is the financial world. For decades, banks and investment firms of mountainous size have ruled the land. Yet high above the horizon, another mountain has risen. A mountain called First Union. With 16 million customers, the nation's 8th largest brokerage and 6th largest bank. For a new perspective of the financial world, come to the mountain called First Union. Or if you prefer, the mountain will come to you.
Coming up, join Bill tonight with his guests Jerry Springer, Alex Kingston, Michael Medved, and Carrot Top. Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher, coming up.
Never before has a series been so honored. Never before has a show been so involving. Never before have characters been so compelling. Never before, until now. ER, weekends on the WB.
Shortly after finishing therapy and on the 7th anniversary of her rape, Nancy Rain began writing about it for the first time. After Silence was published 6 years later, it took her husband Steve even deeper into the private heart of his wife's anguish.
It was difficult to see how deeply she felt some of the things that we were going through. It was quite a revelation. It was a real experience and education. But she does it in a way that to me was like a prayer, something that is beautifully stated but carries a tremendous impact, but it doesn't do so in a way that is purely painful. It hurts to some degree, but like an aria where you have this tremendous passion. It's both a beautiful experience and it's both a very emotional experience.
For Nancy Rain, After Silence was a way of finally defying the rapist's command to shut up.
I realized as I started working on the book that I had internalized shut up. You know, you can write about everything, but don't write about this. So it was very important to me to be able to speak.
The book brought Nancy Rain something else, something surprising.
For many nights, I had slipped out of bed in the dark hours before dawn, leaving its warmth and the comfort of Steve's slow, even breathing, to find a woman waiting at the desk where I wrote. I turned on the lamp and sat down. I worked until I could just make out the branches of the elderberry outside my window as the blackness turned to gray. Then I slipped back into bed as the birds began to wake. Turning toward me in his sleep but not waking, Steve gathered me back in his arms. And then one dawn, more than 2 years later, when I had finally finished this book, I saw that the woman at the desk and the woman in his arms were the same woman again. And there was a gift I hadn't expected. The years of remembering with words had given me back my birthday. I was born on July 26, 1946. It's kind of odd to cry at your own words, not because they're so wonderful, but just because they bring back that feeling. I feel such gratitude that I just feel a lot of gratitude.
I'll be back with a closing thought in a moment.
My mom's a big person, fireman. My dad has this really important job with this big fancy office where he's the boss. He always eats lunch at these big fancy restaurants. And after he's done saving the world, we go home and play. I'd give him a 10. I drew a picture of you.
The 1999 Camry. Even heroes need a car. Special year-end savings on Camry. Available now.
Yeah, it was amazing. Whole different world.
You were a volunteer?
Yeah. I saw a world that wasn't so fortunate. They needed help. In business, I see a world full of opportunities. Sounds like how we don't do more. To help me take advantage of those opportunities, I invest in international funds with T. Rowe Price. I chose them because they work with analysts all over the world. See, I know what a difference being there can actually make.
T. Rowe Price, helping people invest with confidence for over 50 years.
This holiday season, try laughing about it.
Oh, Mom, I'm gonna have sex with Tim.
No matter how hard life gets,
Smile.
there's one place you can always go that's worse.
I can see your roots.
Holly Hunter, Anne Bancroft, Robert Downey Jr., Dylan McDermott, and Claire Danes are going home for the holidays. The network television premiere, Thanksgiving night on ABC, where the holidays are always entertaining.
Well, I've decided. Tonight's the night I'm going to pop the question.
So did you get the ring yet?
No. I had a better idea. I wanted to get her something that says, I'm really in this for the long haul. It's a train. What? I'm making a commitment here.
Call today and get a free 10-year parts and labor warranty on select train systems. Call Armstrong Heating and Air Conditioning in East Peoria, 699-9460.
Choices. That's what you get at Oak Express. Not just a few tables like other stores, but hundreds of dining tables to choose from. The Victor with Sunburst tabletop's incredible 128. The Max Ray with beautiful oak inlay top is only $249. Or the Solid Oak Scottsdale is just $279. That's just a sample of the selection and values at Oak Express. And ask about our one-year free financing program. Oak Express, 4517 North Sterling, just west of the Northwoods Mall.
Most rapes do not take place at the point of a knife, but the damage can be just as enduring. It is true, and not just of women, but of all of us, that sometimes when we say no, we aren't believed. But whatever the real or imagined ambiguity of no may be, it's a deceptively easy problem to solve. We should all assume that whenever another human being says no, she means it. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
If you'd like a transcript or video cassette of this or any other edition of Nightline, please dial 1-800-CALL-ABC. Nightline is always on with abcnews.com, on the web or AOL.
Nightline has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABC News, now, always...
Tomorrow, 'tis the season to buy toys, but why do they cost so much? They're some of the most popular ones with kids, but should you buy them? Watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
When the Drew Carey Show needs a family for the holidays, they borrow one.
Bringing the kids to the bar, huh? How you going to cap off the evening? Strip joint or cockfight?
See you Wednesday on ABC.
Don't worry, we've got you covered. On your television screen right now is a list of professionals and business locations where you can pick up your free vinyl telephone book cover for your area. These heavy vinyl covers are custom made to fit your telephone book and designed to protect it from spills and tears for several years. These professionals and businesses are providing the covers for you this year, and your patronage is appreciated. Stop by and pick up your free phone book cover today.
When communication is as important as the job itself, you need Reagan Communication. Let Reagan meet your communication needs from planting season through harvest with state-of-the-art communications equipment by Ericsson GE and Reagan Communications. We'll meet your communication needs for both long and short range. Let Reagan Communications be the difference between a job and a job well done. For more information about Reagan's two-way systems, look up Reagan in the Yellow Pages.
The Montel I know always does something special for the holidays.
Montel has holiday surprises for everyday heroes.
One person stepping up saved your son's life.
Debbie's transplant gave